What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. All right, so today we have another car that I'm adding to the channel. And this is actually not my vehicle. This is actually my buddy's vehicle, the Magnum 009. You guys have seen him before on my other videos. We had a video with the Chevy. We had a video with the first time he showed up on there, we did a powder coating on, I think it was Wifey's Pathfinder? Yes. We got lost and all that. It was kind of a funny video, but we passed it twice. We keep passing the street. My man is lost. I'm telling the street right here. He passed the same street twice. This street right here, Donald. Okay. Right here. And then he had a Chevy that we did the remote start on, and he also was the owner of the Murano that we did the illuminated kick plates that was just recently, actually. But he decided to trade out of that Murano. It was a 19 Murano, and go into a 2016 Lexus GX460. Now, to me, that actually makes a lot of sense. Why? A lot of people might say, well, why go from a 19 Murano to a Lexus GX460? First of all, it's a Lexus, pretty much the Toyota. It is pretty much the same car that I owned, which is my 4Runner, but the Lexus version of it. Slightly tweaked, of course, from a 2003 to 2016. But you know that this thing is gonna last forever, for one. There's no CVT transmission we have to worry about. And when it comes to anything off-road or even traction capabilities, this car is gonna be pretty much almost top of the line out there. This thing could go through anything. Now, I'll show you guys, here is the actual car. It is almost the same color my 4Runner was, if you guys look at it. It's got like a gray, it's a grayish, it's a gray metallic. I forget what Lexus actually calls this paint color, but this is the car right here. And it is in awesome condition. Now, of course, we did do some ceramic coating on it. It does have a couple little dings and dents, but of course it is a 2016. The vehicle only has 36,000 miles, I believe. Let's see. It has 36,834 miles. Now, he bought the car with about 800 miles less than that. When we picked it up from the auction, it had 35,000 and some change on it. Of course, driven it, put some miles on it. Couple things we've done to the car already is we've got a all-terrain tire. Pretty much we went with a Falcon Wild Peak AT3s, and we upgraded the size to it. The normal size on this car, I believe, is a 265/60/18, if I'm correct. We went to a 275/65/18. And this tire now, this wheel and tire setup is gonna be only for winter driving. We're getting into the winter months here soon, and that's what we did it for. Next summer, we will have a different set of wheels that he wants to upgrade to, but this is gonna be only his winter driving type. Turn signals, the rear backup lights we're gonna be doing as well. And actually, I'm gonna be replacing one of these because it's broken, which is, I think it's this one right here. Yep, it's got a little chip right there. And we're gonna be changing that plus the backup light on it. Now this car, like I said, it's pretty much a 4Runner, and a 4th gen 4Runner. And now this car's been the same since pretty much 2014. Before that, the style was a little bit different, but the same engine, same drivetrain's been on them, I believe, since that year. And up to this year, 2023, is when they started changing a couple of things. But the grille will be changed into the new version of it. Same thing with the lights. That's coming probably before next summer. We will be upgrading the interior. We're getting him the newer radio on there with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We'll be doing a couple other upgrades here on the vehicle that he wants to get done. But this is a car that he's always liked. And it's got, of course, the 3rd row seating back there. Nice room. And of course, the only thing of the different from my 4Runner was, first of all, you do have this automatic button here, which opens just the glass. And then, of course, the door, the way this one opens up is like a regular door. Instead of going upwards, it opens up sideways. And that's his no brush, which he's gonna basically use to wipe off the snow and scratch his paint all up after we did everything, which I already told him not to do that. But yeah, so we did an upgrade on the brakes. He's got some power stop brakes on this car now. We did the upgrade on the tires so far. And like I said, we did some paint correcting and some ceramic coating on the car already. So that's basically what we've done so far. So now, pretty much on this same video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and upgrade all the lights, that's it, from incandescent to LEDs. The only one we're not doing is the high beam, because the actual headlights are actually LEDs already. But everything else, we're gonna be upgrading it today, and we're gonna be showing you how to do that. Now, there will be a future video on kind of going over specs and everything else on this car, and just basically doing everything. Now, one thing I do wanna show you guys, which will be another video as well, is this car came from Florida. Now, mostly I myself have never worked in a car that's come from Florida, and have never looked underneath a car that's come from Florida before, or any state that's not in the Rust Belt. And I want you guys to take a look at this frame underneath this car. Look at this thing. This thing is immaculate. I mean, the brake lines, the fuel lines, the exhaust, everything on this car, even the spare tire back here has no rust whatsoever. We will be coating the car before winter, because now it is in the Rust Belt. It is gonna get salt all over it. It is gonna get, it's basically gonna take abuse now, actually. And you know how these Toyota frames are. These Toyota frames are prone to rust. So we are gonna be upgrading, but that's gonna be in a future video. But this car, pretty much other than the small things and dents it has out there and being outdated with technology, is immaculate. And this is a car that I advise them to get, because he's always wanted a Lexus, but he didn't wanna spend, you're talking about brand new Lexus, 70, 80, even $90,000 Lexus out there, but he still wants a Lexus. So he still wants to drive luxury, but still wants to keep his budget in check at a specific point. And this is the way to do it. So he still has a luxury ride, and we're gonna upgrade everything to pretty much get it up to the new stuff coming up with this car in this video. And pretty much in these next videos you'll see on this car, we'll have that. So, stay tuned to the channel. But today, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and basically do all the lights, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do those lights and replace them and put into LEDs. So let's get that going right now. All right, so we're gonna start pretty much with doing the door lighting. Now, the door lighting itself is got the incandescent lights, but it's basically these small little entry, they call it entry or door lighting right there. We're gonna do all those. Those are pretty simple. The only ones I'm not gonna do, which have already been done from what I see, is the actual step rail ones, the ones that basically when you open the door, the floor lights up down here. Those are done. Those are already LEDs. You can actually see the white LED shining through there. So those have been done. So we're gonna do the doors, then we're gonna do the dome lights here, and then we're gonna go work our way back and do the second row, and then the third or the hatch back there at the very end. Then after that, we're gonna do the front turn signals, and we're gonna do the back reverse lights at this point. The back turn signals are pretty much, we're leaving these back turn signals, right, Donald? You didn't want to do these LEDs. Okay, so he didn't want these LEDs. He didn't want just those normal, because actually this whole light assembly, again, we're getting a whole LED light assembly on here in the future, so that's why we're leaving those. But we're gonna be doing these reverse ones, will be the last ones that we do, because we gotta replace that back light completely. So doors, interior lighting, front turn signals, and then backup bulb, backup lights pretty much. So let's go ahead and get started with the doors. These are pretty simple to do. All right, so the tools we're gonna be using are going to be a plastic pry tool, something like this. Don't use a screwdriver because you could damage your plastic trim or even the lights themselves. And we're gonna use a 10mm socket and either something to drive it with or a ratchet, however you wanna go ahead and use those. Those are gonna be mainly for the back lights. So the lights we're gonna be using for this are gonna be AUXITO. I've been using this for pretty much the last 3 or 4 cars I've done. And of course, if you use my coupon code down below, you get about 15% off as well. But we're gonna be using the 194s from them. Now, one thing about these 194s is they do come with a little tool, which we'll use a little bit later. That little yellow tool, we're gonna need that a little bit later. I'll show you guys that when we get to the back lights, the second and third row lights. The turn signals in the back are gonna be these, AUXITOs. And then of course the front turn signals are these right here. Now these are basically they already have a chip in there, so you don't have that hyper flash. They already have that resistor in there, so you don't have to add any wiring or anything. These are the new lights they come out. So when basically you put those front lights, the turn signal on, you don't have that hyper flash where it flashes really quick. These I put on my Escalade. I'll have that video link up here. But again, AUXITO is the one we're gonna be using for this entire car to transform every incandescent light to an LED light. All right, so how we're gonna do these lights is pretty simple. Basically, you're gonna take your trim tool, you gotta place it underneath the light and push inwards. The light should pop right out. go ahead and unplug the light. All right, so once you get the actual housings out, you're gonna hold on to the plastic clip right here, or the plastic casing, and pull back on the gray section of it. That's where your light is. To get to the light, all you're gonna do is just twist this lightly and pull it straight out, and there's your light bulb. Pull the light out. Put one of the new lights in. Now, prior to putting everything back together, you want to take it to the car and plug it in and make sure it lights up. All right, so just the way you popped it out, go ahead and pop this back in. You got these into these little inserts right here. All right, so now you gotta take the plastic casing or your plastic cover, insert the small legs you see right here, right into its case right there. And then you could just snap that back in place here. Pretty much you're doing this the opposite of what you did earlier. And then go ahead and plug it back in and reinsert everything back in. There you have it. And every one of the other ones, the back one is exact same way, and so are the other 4 doors. Now, of course, my boy Donald already took the other ones out for me. All right, so now all the doors are done pretty much. So we got all LEDs right here. Now, the reason I didn't go with a full LED, like you got buy them on Amazon for like, I think they 30 bucks for 2, which is a basically full LED. You just plug and play in there. You take the old one out, plug the new one in, pop it in, and it's got a full section of like, I think there's 12 LEDs in it. It lights up a lot brighter. Is because again, that's $64, $60 to $70 pretty much for 4 doors. And I was just trying to get, what I did is got, again, a whole 2 boxes of 194s. And that's pretty much all you need. I mean, what are we really lighting up here? Just a small amount on the ground. On top of that, this vehicle already has the lighting down there. So, I mean, and it's just basically more of aesthetics and looks than anything else, because, I mean, you're not really lighting anything up down here unless you're going on some kind of off-roading, which then I suggest going to some other type of off-roading light bars at the bottom at that point. But once we got the doors done now, next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get these dome lights taken care of. There's 2 bulbs in there. Now the problem here is you can pop these plastic pieces off and just get to the bulbs that way, but your fingers, unless you got very, very, very tiny fingers or something to grip those bulbs with, they're gonna be a pain to get. So we're gonna just make it easy on ourselves and remove this whole top console here and get to the bulbs from behind this. These can pop out, like I said earlier, but the bulbs are hard to reach with your fingers in there because they're just kind of inserted too far in. So we're gonna pop this whole console out. Now we're gonna go off the back here, slide the pry tool in there, and then slide it in and then pull back on this thing. Just like that. Now you don't have to unplug anything else on here. We're just gonna turn these counterclockwise, and there are your bulbs right there. Now take this bulb out. Insert the new bulb. The good thing about these AUXITO bulbs is they have pretty much dual sides, so you don't have to do none of that taking out and checking if it lights up or anything. Either side works. Pop that right back in there. Turn it back on, and now we have LED compared to our incandescent light. We'll do the same thing to the other side. LEDs. To insert it back in, you got these tabs right here. These go in here. Got LEDs. That's simple. All right, so basically to take these out, that's where this little tool comes in from AUXITO that they sent you. You can use your trim tool you were using before, but you could actually use this one here if you get the AUXITO lights. You pop the front panel over here, kind of go around it. That comes out. We're gonna go ahead and basically use, so you don't have to take this whole assembly out. You're gonna take your trim tool you've been using with one finger on one side of the bulb and the trim tool on the other side, pull down on it. Now, of course, it's probably gonna fly out, so just be careful, and then pull the other one out too, just like that. Go ahead and insert your lights in there. Go ahead and take your lens and put it back in there. You got these little tabs that they go into the small holes that are in the lighting, and they just push it back in. And you have it, LED lights in the second row, and the same thing goes for the third row. It's the same type of light in the back. And like I said, for the back one, it's pretty much the same thing. You're gonna pop this trim tool right in there. And pop them out, like I said earlier, just like that. Search your lights, make sure you check them. Good to go, and then pop everything right back into place. Just like that. All right, so like I said earlier, the headlights are already LEDs. The high beams are not LEDs, but he didn't want those replaced. On top of that, we're gonna be replacing the actual the driving lights anyways. The main lights, we're gonna be replacing them to the newer ones in the future. But these are your turn signals. And now I didn't get white turn signals. I still got the orange, but I went ahead and pretty much got LEDs, so they're brighter. And the only reason I didn't get whites because the orange ones are the ones that have the chip basically, or the resonator for the hyper flash, so it doesn't do that. If you go with the white ones, they don't have them that way. So we're gonna have to do these. Now these are actually pretty simple. Once you get on the car, it's just, you can reach straight up and take the bulbs out. So I'll show you how to do those right now. All right, so to remove the front turn signals is pretty simple. You're gonna reach underneath the vehicle. You're gonna look for this gray connector right here that's inserted into the housing. Turn it counterclockwise, pull the light out, swap the light, push it back in, and turn it clockwise to lock it in. It's that simple. Gonna do the same thing to the other side, and you're done. So now we got the LEDs on the car. And you can see they're a lot brighter than they were before. So now the last ones we have to do for lighting is going to be the back ones. Now that's the reverse lights we're gonna be doing. And I have to replace one of the light housings, so you'll see how that gets replaced. They're actually pretty simple to do in the back as well. Now on the rear, we're gonna remove these panels. These are held on by 5 screws. You'll see them right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is in here, so don't forget about that one. Once you get the panels out, the actual bulbs are right there. You can actually turn them counterclockwise and then pop them right off, put the new bulb in and pop them right back in, just like we did on the front. But since we're removing the entire light housing, we're gonna be looking for 2 screws on here. This is a 10mm screw as well. The first screw is going to be right here. You can actually see it right there, very easy to see, the 10mm. The other one is hidden between the bumper and the actual light housing, all the way up here. That one's a pain to get to. Now the first screw is very easy to get to. That is not a problem. This is a 10mm right here. Just go ahead and get your wrench in there and just turn it off. The other one that's against the bumper of the car that's further up, you're gonna need some extensions for that one. I'll explain here in a second how I got it out. Okay, so basically it was a pain to get to. There's 2 screws that hold these lights on, this whole assembly here. And it was a pain to get to it. So basically, one of the screws is easy. I showed you guys in the picture, one of the screws is pretty easy. The other one was a pain that's up against the bumper itself and the plastic panel right here. So to get to that screw, I pretty much had to make an extension about this long. I don't have an extension that long, so I put 2 extensions together just to get enough leverage to be able to get my ratchet in there and be able to get it out. But once you got it out, it comes off with a bunch of dirt's probably in there and everything else like that. But again, it was just a pain to get to that last screw. Again, here, so here's the light that's already out, and it's gonna be the screw that's up against the bumper. It's like literally, if you guys are looking for it, it's right along here. So if you look, you see this tab on the light underneath the car, it's right above that right there. So once you get that out, of course, the rest of the light comes right out of that. So let's go ahead and finish this install and put everything back together. All right, so here's the thing with these. So I bought this from Amazon, trying to save money, of course, which you do, you save a ton of money before going OE. But there's a big difference with these Amazon ones. So this Amazon one has this gigantic hole right here, which I supposedly think it's for some kind of light that goes in there. I'm not sure. You guys that have these GXs, let me know. Maybe the upgraded versions that have an additional light in here or something. But the factory one is completely sealed. That area is sealed. So basically, that's the light right there. That's sealed. There's where the actual light bulb goes in for the reverse. But again, this car doesn't have a light in here. It's completely sealed for this car. So what I'm gonna end up having to do is, with the old light, I'm gonna take a Dremel and I'm gonna cut around this just to get this plastic piece off of here. And we're gonna basically use some epoxy to glue it back on here, and then we'll use some sealant to seal around there as well, just so no water gets in. Even though there's no light in here, or electrical, all the electrical goes into this top piece here. I still don't want any condensation being built up there, because it's gonna look ugly when anybody looks at the car. It's gonna have a bunch of condensation built up on the new one. So that's gonna be for us trying to save some money going with an Amazon one compared to a factory one. So just a little bit extra work just to make sure there's nothing gets in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and I'll come back once we're done with it to show you how it looks. All right, so here's what I pretty much ended up doing with this thing, just to seal it up. So like I said, I took a Dremel and I pretty much dismantled the old one completely, just cut it all up to get the small plastic piece that's in here. Now, what I did here pretty much is, if you guys look at these pictures, I put some epoxy on both sides of the new light to fit in that small plastic piece. I actually kind of rounded that off using a grinder, kind of made sure that kind of shaped it as much as I could. And then I popped the epoxy on there. Now, any gaps and stuff like that, I did pre-fill with more epoxy so it would properly seal. Now, just to basically make it last a lot, or make a pretty much sealant so there's no water actually gets in there, what I ended up doing is putting some electrical tape, or electrical, there's actually like, this is something you put on a wiring harness and stuff to keep any water from coming in there. And it's like a foam, but it's very, very sticky. I put that on the outside of it. And then I finished it off with some duct tape. It's not the prettiest thing, of course. It doesn't look, I mean, if this goes, I wouldn't put this on any part that is shown in the car. This is gonna be stuck inside of the bumper. Nobody's gonna see this. You're gonna see this part, and nobody's actually ever gonna see this part right here, unless somebody's working on the car and goes underneath to remove the light for some reason. But other than that, this is what it looks like. The foam tape is inside. You got the extra protection with the duct tape on the outside. We'll see if this lasts. If it starts getting water in there, we'll have to figure something else out. But for now, this is pretty much how it's gonna end up looking, just to seal that hole out. Before we put the new housing back in, let's remove these speed clips. We're gonna take these out the old light housing. Just take your little pry tool or basically pick and pull them right out of there. And then insert them back into the new housing. These are basically what the screws pretty much screw onto. Once you're done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the housing back in there. Same way you took it out, same way it goes back in. So the right light's back on there now. Pretty much here's what I had to do for this. The first bolt that's right there, it's very simple. You put it with your hand, you start it off with your hand, tighten it up, you're done. That second bolt though, that one that's hidden all the way up against the bumper of the car, this is what I had to do. I basically took that extension that I made, I took this 6-inch extension, put the socket in there, put the screw right in here, and kind of felt for where that hole was at. And then as soon as you got it, just start twisting on there. You should be able to get it as long as you align it straight with that tab, that long tab that wasn't light, which is basically this tab out here. Again, it's right above that pretty much. So when you go in there, just kind of line your hand right in there with it, and you should be able to get right on top of it. I couldn't get the camera in there because of course it's tight to get in there, and I couldn't show you guys how to do it. I would have been blocking the camera the whole time. But that was pretty much the easiest way I found to do it, because trying to get my hand up there and trying to start the screw up was not gonna help at all. So that was the easiest way I found to do it. I actually got it in one shot, so it was pretty quick. Usually you're fighting with something like this. So now I got pretty much all the lights taken care of. Got my boy Donald's in there, and now we have LEDs in the back as well. So now we have LEDs throughout the entire car. We got the LEDs in the reverse lights, we got LED interior lights, we got LED front turn signals, still the yellow ones, but they don't have the hyper flash again. So if you hit the turn signals, LED, but no hyper flash. Even if we go to the back, normally the back one will be flashing really fast and everything, and that one's still flash normal. Again, these AUXITO lights are pretty much awesome. I use them on the Escalade same way, the LEDs on the front, so the turn signals don't hyper flash. We got the LED reverse lights on this thing. Pretty much next video is gonna be us pretty much undercoating this car and getting it ready for winter. Then after that, we'll start upgrading some other things on the car. All right, so that is the end of the video for now. If you guys want to use any of the tools or even the lights, all the links will be in the description below. Just go ahead and click on them. Again, if you do the AUXITO lights, you click on that link, you get 15% off. I put my coupon code and everything down below. And that's it. That's pretty much the end of this video. So he's got now upgraded lights. Again, I never showed that we did the tires, but again, the tires are a little bigger size and they're ready for winter. He is good to go. Next thing we're gonna be looking at is pretty much undercoating the entire car because we wanna protect this car and make it pretty much his forever car. Even though his car of his dreams is a Mercedes S65 AMG, but this is gonna be one of the cars that they pretty much is gonna last forever. And most of you guys out there know that these Lexuses will go on forever. And we're gonna make sure that that happens, that this is his car that when he's 80 years old, he's still driving this car around. So again, that is the end of the video. If you guys did like the video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.